Excellent. Thank you very much. So hello, everyone. My name is Victor Villegas, Technology and Media Support Coordinator at Oregon State University Extension, longtime ACE member, and also chair of the IT and I always get this wrong because we added it the other one. What's the whole name, Peter?
Instructional Design and Information Technology Learning Community.
There we go. Big long name. So Peter is my vice chair, and we're happy to have you all here. We're going to be going over some technology trends. Some of them you are probably familiar with, probably most of them actually. But feel free to ask questions anytime in the chat or raise your hand. I don't want this to be like a lecture. I prefer to have some interaction. Got a lot of information to go on those, so let's get this started. Let me share my screen here. All right, so this is latest tech trends for communications and education. As I said, I'm Technology and Media Support Coordinator at OSU Extension. This is my profile on our Extension website. Send a link to it later if you all want to. Any time you want to schedule an appointment with me, which is, I just remember that's one of the technologies I'm using. I'm using bookings through Office 365 so people can actually see my calendar and schedule appointments. So if anybody wants to talk a little bit about that, remind me towards the end of this presentation. So some technology trends here that been happening. Hybrid sessions, much to my chagrin, are obviously after the pandemic very, very popular. So we know what in-person sessions are, and we know what virtual sessions are, like Zoom, but lots and lots of folks are wanting now to have hybrid sessions as we're transitioning back to in-person, but people really liked having that virtual option. And so they're trying to do a lot of these hybrid sessions where there's in-person sessions, but that is being live video broadcast at the same time to people that are not able to be there in person. Takes a lot of technology, a lot of support. It's getting a little bit easier, but it is still quite a challenge, and you usually need some type of a person there that does tech support in order to be able to mute, unmute mics. Audio is probably the biggest challenge. The video, not so much. You can set up a static camera if you wanted to, but if you wanted to make it more interactive, you have to have someone that's controlling the Zoom and the video live stream and the microphones and the presentation, and let the presenters do their presentation. So it usually takes at least two people, a presenter and a tech person, preferably a third person like a moderator that's able to moderate the chat and ask questions back and forth. So not really going to go over too much on hybrid sessions. There was a session in last ACE conference that went over some of the challenges of there. We can do another session if you would like to specifically on that in the future. Live video streaming, I'll give just a really quick example of what we've done. Podcasts. So podcasts, several of you have probably already been doing this. They're still on the rise, increasing in popularity. We've got several of them going on, and I'll be sharing these slides later so you can click and see some of the podcasts that we've been doing through Extension at Oregon State. And CRM is another popular technology trend. So CRM is short for Client Relationship Management Software. And so we use Salesforce. We've also used HubSpot. There's a whole bunch of other ones out there, but those are probably two of the most popular ones. And these allow us to do things like tracking of our clients, right? Salesforce also has several different softwares underneath their CRM. Well, one that we use and increasingly using more is sending email newsletters to folks so that they can subscribe. And then we can get analytics from if they're opening up those things, what are they going to, what are they clicking on, how often. Once we have their information, their contact information, and we see that they're looking at certain info, we can then connect that to other resources. So let's say we're doing something for master gardeners, and we have other information about gardening that we want to send to them. It's just like, well, you were interested in this webinar and you attended this webinar. You might be interested in these other gardening events and trainings. And so because we have Salesforce, we're able to track that and see how many people are interacting with our different programming and events. And then, of course, AR, VR, XR, AI, we'll be going through all of those today too. So live video streaming, this is some of the hardware and software that I have personally used here at Oregon State University. So the ATEM Mini Pro is a video switching device. It takes 4 HDMI inputs, so you can hook up cameras, computers, anything that has an HDMI output into it, and then switch back and forth between them. You can also do picture-in-picture. It comes with software that you can control via the computer. But the cool thing about the ATEM Mini Pro, and this is the Pro, not the Mini, the Pro actually has Ethernet connection, so you can connect it directly to the internet and not even have to use a computer if you don't want to. You can set it all up ahead of time. Most of the time when you wanted to do live video streaming, you needed a pretty hefty computer, like a gaming computer, to do all the video processing. Well, this has a codec on board that does all the heavy lifting and all the I mean, you can put different types of resolution cameras on it, and it will automatically figure out all of that technology in the background and just output the signal, and without you having to worry about it. You can make it as easy as if you pre-program ahead of time, so that the user just has to press a button to broadcast, and it will automatically just start broadcasting after you push that button, and it will go out to YouTube or Facebook or whatever system you've set up to broadcast to. So really cool system. They've come down in price quite a bit. I think you can get this now for about $300 or less nowadays, which is just amazing. It's like a TV studio in your hands. PTZ cameras, that's pan, tilt, zoom. And these cameras are able to be remotely controlled via these controllers, like with a joystick or this keypad. They're very amazing. We usually hook them up via Ethernet to a network, and you don't even have to be in the room. You just have to have some type of internet connection to it to be able to control pan, tilt, and zoom the cameras. It's on like a swivel. And you can also zoom in, zoom out, control focus, whatnot. So a bit expensive, but well worth it if you want to have one person controlling multiple cameras. And then there's OBS, Open Broadcast Software. It's freely available. This one allows you to connect webcams and other cameras. It also can work with PTZ and the ATEM Mini Pro. But it's freely available software that you can use for live video streaming. Most of the stuff that we do is gone to YouTube and Facebook, and of course there are other services. So it looks like there's something in the chat. Peter, are you able to moderate the chat for me?
Yes, I so far haven't seen any question.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so next one. So this is an example of what we did with live video streaming. It's called OSU Extension HatchCam, and we did this spring. It was at our Clatsop County office. We do it every year, and basically we put up a web camera on an incubator and broadcast it for about a week. And people can tune in and watch the baby chicks hatch, which is really cool. We also have some information on how how the chicks are doing, what's the process of them hatching, what's happening, and we promote it on our website. I'll click on this link here. And it's been great promotion for us. We have a web form where people can put in information when they want to know when that starts up. And then we have all of our other information about purchasing chickens, raising them, chicken coop information, backyard chicken coop design, anything about that. We actually have a landing page for it. And people that watch the live stream then could go and get more information if they wanted to. So that was really popular. All right, here's another example of live video streaming. We have OSU Food Innovation Lab out in Portland, and they do a lot of experiment on foods. Folks come and test different recipes. They have taste testing sessions. And I set up a system for them with 2 PTZ cameras. If you see them, what looks like mirrors back over there, that's actually a one-way viewing. So on the other side of that is you can actually look into the lab, but people don't know that you're looking in there. Kind of like the things you see in the movies, right? When they go to jail or whatnot. But that's an observation area. But we have cameras that we can point, tilt, and zoom and record the reactions of people as they're doing the taste testing. There's also a microphone in there. We have the capability to output to a private video for the companies that are having their stuff tested. They don't actually have to be there, but they could see the testing being done live, or we can record it to a USB drive and one of the thumb drives and then send it to them later. Now, augmented reality, AR. This is I'm sure you've heard of this, computer-generated images, which are superimposed over a user's real-world view. The example here is pretty much everyone's heard about Pokemon Go, where you have your mobile device and you're going around and looking at the Pokemon characters, but you have to find them, and you're seeing the real-world view, but you see this 3D animated characters on top of that, right? One of the examples that we've done of augmented and some virtual reality is the Dive4Ag app. And I'll see if I can see here. Let's go back. I didn't have this one linked, but I'll bring it up here really quickly. This one was done in collaboration with OSU pre-college programs and 4-H. So we had some 4-Hers work with a virtual reality, augmented reality company to develop this app. And so I'll make sure to have this link in the slides that I send out. I'm trying to see if there's actually a link on here. So yeah, so you can actually download Explore AR, which is the software they use, the platform they used for viewing it. And then you can zoom into it. This is, let me show you just a little video of kind of what it looks like. This is not the Ag4Ag, but it works very similar to this. So you have 360 video that were recorded with 360-degree cameras. And you can have hotspots within it to click on for more information about certain things. This is kind of what it looks like here. So it's augmented reality. Again, you're seeing these things superimposed on top of real time, world. And you can click on these things to actually go see like a video about that certain section or more information. All right, I think you get the idea. Now, virtual reality, that's like the next step. So there's a computer-generated simulated environment where a user can interact with that environment in real time. So think 3D models. It's immersive, and you can move around 360 degrees. You usually have to have some type of headset to view these type of things, or glasses. An example of a virtual reality that we've done at Oregon State University, our eCampus, which is our online offering. We have a 3D microscope lab class, and they are able to control and learn how to use a lab microscope without actually using a real one, but all the controls are exactly the same, and you can see the slides like if you were seeing the same thing. So I'm going to show you a little demo of what that looks like. This has been very popular, and it's what every undergrad student uses to take for all of those. They don't take an actual microscope class. They take this one so they don't break real glasses. It saves on a lot of damage. But they're able to control everything just like on the real one, and you can see the results on the left there. So this is not a 360 immersive environment, but it is 3D. And you're able to adjust all of the different controls on the microscope and see the effects. All right, so what do you need to do see these virtual environments? So I usually have to use some type of a headset. Meta Quest, or Meta as being Facebook, renamed themselves Quest. I have an Oculus 2, which was the previous one right before they renamed it Facebook to Meta, and so Quest is now it's been rebranded. It's the same thing. They have different versions. There's a Quest 2 and a Quest Pro. Pro obviously being much more expensive, a higher resolution. And the Quest, I think you can have it for about $300 or $400 these days or so. You can find Oculus who's used on the market to play around. I highly suggest getting one of those entry-level ones to mess around with, just to get familiar with what's available. It's gotten to the point where you don't feel motion sickness like you did with some of the earlier ones. Now, some people will feel that. So be advised, when you first start trying this thing, you might want to be sitting down, because you can get disoriented if you're not used to it. Some of the game consoles, like PlayStation VR, has the capability to have a headset available for the PlayStation. HTC Vive is very popular. It's also much more expensive, but a lot of universities are using that in their virtual reality labs. So it's kind of a high-end one. And then there's HP Reverb and the Valve Index. I'm not familiar with those as much, but there's a whole bunch of other ones. These are probably the more popular ones. Let's see, any questions? Oh, thanks, Peter, for posting those links on there. VR software. So what do you need to create these virtual worlds or the items that are inside of them? It's usually 3D. There's two very popular engines. There's the Unity engine and the Unreal engine. They're basically gaming engines. It's what all those 3D games that you see either on the PlayStation or for computers or online are usually created with one of these two. You can create 3D items in there and spaces, but it also has a lot of control over the actions, right? If you click on something, something happens. And they're very, very deep pieces of software, fairly complicated, can be tough to learn, have a lot of different options, but that's what it takes to create all of these different virtual platforms. All of the games that you see on, well, not all, but many of the games that you see on the mobile devices are created with one of these two also. And Google VR is a little bit more simpler. Haven't tried it yet, but I hear that it's possible to do some simpler VR works. And then we have Blender 3D, which is a freely available software for creating 3D objects, animations. It's been used to do films, video, fully animated films within Blender. So it's an animator and a 3D creator. And then Autodesk has their 3ds Max and Maya also available. Fairly expensive, but also very feature rich. So producing VR is not cheap. And we usually have to work with third-party vendors in order to do some of our AR and VR stuff. Now, the metaverse, I'm sure you've heard of the metaverse, which is basically virtual reality worlds. When people ask, well, what is the metaverse? There's two different things. There's the hope that there's this big online thing. It's like the Web 3.0, right? Where everybody can connect to a different system and you carry around your personal identity with you. So right now you have to log in and create an account and log into every single different platform online. So you got Facebook, you got Twitter, you got in GatherTown, you got all these different systems that you get into. Ideally, what they're wanting the metaverse to be is where you have your own one identity, your own avatar, your own things that you buy online, your what they call phygital items, digital versions of physical items. They call them phygital. So if you go into Facebook and you buy something in Facebook, you can only use it in Facebook, right? So in the metaverse that they're trying to create, you own everything that you buy, and instead of you having to ask for access to these different platforms, the platforms have to ask you for your permission to get access to you. So it's kind of an inverse thing. Not sure how that's actually going to turn out because, all the companies are trying to make money for themselves and they don't want to be open. But the metaverse, there's a lot of folks trying to have that as an open system. So we'll see what happens with that. So instead of one big metaverse, what we've had so far is a bunch of these little metaverses. So virtual worlds, here are some of the more popular ones. So Meta, again, that Facebook has Horizon Worlds where you can go in and they have these 3D virtual spaces where you can have meetings like Zoom, but in 3D, and you have an avatar. The resolution on this stuff has gotten pretty good where you can actually use your hands and you don't even have to have the controllers and it will recognize your hands. And I was taking classes online in a virtual environment for American Sign Language, and it could track my finger and hand movements to show the different stuff. So it's pretty amazing. Spatial is another one that is fairly popular. Gather is interesting because it kind of marries real-time video like Zoom, and you have these, the little boxes like we have in Zoom, but you also have these little two-dimensional avatars that move around into different spaces. So it kind of reminds me of those games back in the 80s, 90s, that you walk around. And let me click on this. Can show you a little bit better, but they're like 8-bit graphics. It's still considered a virtual environment, even though it's not a 360 environment. And so you see the video of the people, and they have their little avatars, and they can move around and talk. And what's really cool about this, as the closer you get to someone, the louder they sound. So it's just like if you're in a physical environment. If you move away from someone, they get softer and softer to the point where, okay, then you can't hear them anymore because you're too far away. And you have these various different rooms you go into. So if you go into a room, you can only hear the people inside that room. So they have these different types of spaces. It's pretty cool. You should check it out. There's a free version that you can use, I believe, with up to about 10 people. And I'm thinking of doing something like this with our LC just to practice sometime in the future. Decentraland, Sandbox, other ones, Hubs, similar. Roblox, Fortnite, and Minecraft, those are games, and that's more, youth-oriented. But they are metaverses or virtual worlds. You can create stuff, and your kids probably know about these things and can tell you all about it. They're more for gaming, not necessarily for education, but I've seen them used in education. Roblox, lots of schools use that to teach programming. Artificial intelligence, AI. So that's the capacity of computers or other machines to exhibit or simulate intelligent behavior, according to the Oxford Dictionary. And so computers use machine learning on large data sets to discover and learn patterns, which can lead to predictive capabilities. So AI usually works with these huge data sets. Most of you are probably familiar with AI art and ChatGPT. We'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But it's also used in image enhancing. So Photoshop has some AI imaging capabilities. There's some upscaling in that. We've used Topaz Labs Gigapixel also. It's a commercial product. $100. And basically, if you can see here, if I move the slider, you can take something that is fairly pixelated and running it through this system, it will interpolate it and use AI in order to create a better resolution or good resolution off of that pixelated image. It's quite incredible, and you can enlarge photos quite a bit. You can do it in Photoshop. This one does it even better than what Photoshop does, although it's probably just a matter of time. There is this pixel cut image upscaler that I've used. You can use this one for free. There's also another one just called Upscaler, and you just basically upload a photo on here and it will scale it. Let's see if I have one. Two. Okay, I had one that was already upscaled. No, it's too many screens. I think this is the one. Okay, here's the one. I got one. So let me show you. Oh, is that the original or not? Can't tell.
Organizations.
Well, sorry about that. I had a different image, and I don't have the original ones. Which already got scaled, but basically it allows you to do that same thing. So if you have a small picture, like these might be a little bit smaller, but let's say you have a 2-inch by 2-inch image, and you wanted to put it out on an 8.5 by 11 poster. Well, if it's a raster image, it does not scale right because you'll have all these different artifacts inside of it. And so you can use these type of upscalers to increase the resolution so that you can bring it up. It's pretty amazing technology. Frame extending is another thing that you can do. So this one, I do have an example of this. And I believe DALL-E allows you to. So here is my original. Let me go to the graphic. Okay, here's the original photo that I had, and I wanted to extend this. And I put it into the DALL-E system, which I'll show you afterwards. And this is what the system did. So as you can see, my right-hand shoulder was missing, and it guessed at what that would be, and it created the rest of my shoulder and my arm, my elbow, and the right hand side of my body. It also added to the drone on the bottom there that the bottom propellers were missing, and it put up some football pants on Benny the Beaver there. It just kind of guessed at that. It's not 100% accurate. It also, since it saw posters on the upper right-hand side of this picture, it created a poster on the left-hand side and also the paneling in the back. So let me go back to the original so you can see what that looks like. That's the original. You can see where part of my right-hand side of my body is missing. And you couldn't see the, the pants on Benny Beaver there. But it kind of guessed at it and it extended it. And again, this is the results after the fact. So not quite perfect, but it's something. For me to kind of recreate that in Photoshop would have taken me forever, and it does this in seconds. So it can be helpful for extending certain things, and you can go into Photoshop and then fix it up. So that is image extension. Now, AI art. Okay, there's hundreds of different programs out there, and there's like several coming out almost daily. It's hard to keep track of everything, and I'll give you a resource to actually find out all the different AI tools that are coming out daily. These are 3 that I've used. They're probably some of the more popular ones. DALL-E, they're on version 2, I think. Stable Diffusion and Midjourney. Midjourney runs on a Discord server, but you can also, I believe, create your own server for that, as well as Stable Diffusion. So let me show you kind of what DALL-E looks like. And this was DALL-E 2. This is freely available. And AI art is usually created with text prompts. So you basically give it text, and you can give it a style, and it will try to create that. So let's say I want a robot driving a tractor in a field. And I want a photorealistic style. And boy, this is why I didn't go into English. Realistic style. I went into graphics. And so it's overloaded with other requests. Oh, of course. Sometimes it can get pretty busy. Well, it also keeps track of prior ones. So let me show you ones I've done in the past. I wanted a mariachi astronaut on Mars playing a guitar, and it gave me 4 different versions. So this is kind of more cartoonish like. This was a little bit more 3D-ish like, but it gives you 4 options. Another one, I wanted a mushroom playing a synthesizer, and this is what it came up with. Right? So it's pretty amazing. Does it in seconds. You can use this to get ideas for creating logos. So I wanted to create a logo for Tucson, Arizona water conservation desert landscape in graphic style. And this is what it came up with, right? So it's guessing at the letters here. So it's not necessarily usable as is, but this could be the basis for colors and layout that you can use to create your own. So great for sketching. This was for a logo. This is make a logo for career readiness aimed at middle school students. And it came up with this also in seconds. All right, Stable Diffusion. This is probably the one I use the most because DALL-E uses up credits.
You want to watch this with me?
And this is also free. DALL-E gives you a certain amount of credits a month, and you can use that. And if you want more, you can pay for it. Stable Diffusion is fairly free. It can get, because it's free, it can get bogged down because a whole bunch of people are using it. But let's try again our similar prompt that we had in the other one that crashed. A robot driving a tractor in a hayfield. And we're going to change the style. This one, graphic style. And there we go. So this is based on hundreds of thousands, millions, if not billions of images all around, and it's recreating what it believes a tractor should look like. Now, obviously, some of these look kind of weird. I mean, that's definitely looks like a tractor, but I'm not sure why this thing's sticking in there. And it's kind of like a hayfield, I guess. Let's look at this other one. That looks more like a hayfield and looks like a combine coming out towards you. It's missing some items, but again, this is fairly new technology, so it's just impressive that it does this in seconds. I mean, for you to come up with something like this and create this would take you a lot longer, right? And so let's change the style. We want this in a 18th century painting style. Let's see what that comes up with. Okay, that's more painterly like there. So let's change the style. Oh, that one looks pretty cool. So there's your robot driving this interesting tractor. There you go. Images are still a little bit crude, but they're getting better and better each time. And it's just a matter of time before they're going to be competing with actual ones. So that's what that looks like. And then Midjourney, that runs on a Discord server. So I'm not going to show that one, but there's a link there that you can find more information later. All right, so chatbots and AI beans. Chatbots, if you have used any, we just got finished with tax seasons. If you used, was it Intuit Tax to do your taxes online? There's a little chatbot that comes out that has questions. If you ask it, it goes looking for its knowledge base. That's a chatbot. Here at Oregon State University, we're looking at BennyBot. Oop, forgot the T there. And lots of universities are starting to look at this too. You can ask Ben, excuse me, Benny Bot about classes, enrolling, what's your schedule like? And it's still in beta. They're still testing it, but this is what we're going towards. You're talking with a computer, but it seems like you're talking with a human being. Ask an Expert from Extension is looking at doing chatbots, and we're going to be testing one here. And I believe they're doing in California too. So that will be exciting to try out. AI Beans. So this is one company that I'm aware of. The lady that runs this used to be part of Sophia, the robot, and now they're doing robots in software. This is quite interesting. So I'll play this video here. And they're looking at doing these where to help students. One of the applications of this is for mental health, where people can talk to this AI being as a friend and let them know how they're feeling, and the AI bot can help them with their emotions. But this runs on computers. It can run on your mobile device. It can run on VR headset. So it's made to be multiple platform based. And it will talk to you, and it can, read your facial expressions, and it's cool, interesting, and scary at the very same time. All right. And ChatGPT, which is probably what most everyone is talking about these days. So ChatGPT, how do we can use this in communications? Well, script writing, blog post, writing analysis, search engine optimization, improvement, marketing ideas, and coding are just some of the ways that we can use ChatGPT. And I will show you an example of this. So how can we use ChatGPT for some of these? This is what it looks like. It's available for free. It's run by OpenAI, which also does Stable Diffusion. And you can create a new chat. So let's say I want to create a social media campaign. Here at Oregon State, we're going to be celebrating Damn Proud Day, which is a day of giving. It's a fundraising event, and we encourage people to fund different programs, and this goes to support students and programs that support students. For like Extension, we're doing for 4-H and the Juntos program, I believe, this year. So I'm going to take this, and I'm just taking the URL, and I'm going to go into ChatGPT, and I'm going to prompt some text, and it says, I'm going to tell it, you are a social media expert. Okay. So it usually helps to tell ChatGPT what they are an expert at, and it will actually change the results based on what kind of expert you're telling it. So in this instance, it's a social media expert, but I could tell it it's a marketing expert, or it's a professional writer, or any number of things, and it will kind of optimize it for that. So you are a social media expert. Create 5 social media posts for a campaign, for a fundraising campaign based on this webpage. All right. So here it goes. So sure, here are 5 social media posts for fundraising campaign based on the webpage. Here's the first post. Help us make a difference. Join us in supporting Damn Proud Day and an annual fundraising campaign that supports the University of Denver students, programs, and scholarships. Obviously, it got the university wrong. And so this is the issue with ChatGPT and AI in general. Sometimes it makes assumptions and you have to double check it, but you can go in and edit it and use it. So this, obviously, we just changed this to University of Oregon State Student Programs and Scholarships, donate today. And here's where you insert your link, which would be the link that I already gave it, right? Which is this one right here. It suggested a hashtag of Damn Proud Day, even though there is no hashtag here. So that could be a plus or a minus because we don't know if that hashtag is being used. So we would want to double check to see if anybody else is using that. But it was nice of it to suggest one, right? And then it had other ones. Did you know that every gift counts? Your support and growth can make difference for a student in need. Help us reach our goal by donating. So it knows it was about students and knows that there was a university involved, even though it's the wrong university. And it could be that it, Denver has a Damn Proud Day hashtag, and it's also, so it's not getting information just exclusively to this page, because it does search the internet for other things that are similar. So another thing that I could do is I could actually grab this text instead of the URL, and that might make it a little bit. So rate social media posts based on the following text. And now let's see if it does just OSU stuff. Beavers Unite. Excellent. It's almost here. So now it's got OSU in there, Oregon State University, because I gave it the actual text versus a URL. And it's not perfect, but man, that's pretty good. You can go in and edit that. And for you to come up with 5 posts would have taken you a good half an hour to an hour or more. And now you just have to go in and edit and send that out on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. All right, so that's an example of that. We can use this to do a script. So I believe I have another one. So I did something similar. Let's see. You're an expert video producer. Write a script for a 3-minute video on avoiding common composting mistakes. And I gave it the text for it to look at. So this is all the text that I copied from our website. And it came up with a video script. So here it's given me the opening shot of a lush garden with vibrant flowers and healthy vegetables. Okay. And it says narrator. And this is the text that the narrator would say. Then it gives me the next shot, cut to a shot of a bag of compost. Here's the next couple of sentences that the narrator says, and the next shot. And this was done in seconds, right? Could almost be used as is, or you can go, but we usually go in and modify it. But it has, it saves time, and it's just incredible, and it's only getting better. Now, what if you were to take this and use a virtual being or an AI assistant and create a video? So there's software that allows you to do that. Let me show you a video I created. Using a photograph. Okay, this is a photograph. This is not a video, but it created a video based on the photograph. And I gave it the script, and it made, and I gave it a voice. I could select a voice, and it actually created a video of this photograph speaking the campaign. So let's share QuickTime. Share sound. All righty. So this is a photograph that was available on this site that I use. It's a DID. And the free only lets you do like 20 words or something like that, just or not very much, but it's enough to give you an idea of what this is capable of.
Join us for Damn Proud Day and help support OSU's research, outreach, and innovation.
Okay, that was done for my photograph. This was not a 3D model. This was not a video. It created the video based on a still photograph and then created the words based on the script I gave it, did the math movements that are in sync, just as if we're a real person. Now, it doesn't...
Join us for Damn Proud Day and help support OSU's research, outreach, and innovation.
Okay, it looks a little bit off, but that's pretty good for being all software. It's just incredible. Yeah, it reminds me of animatronics, exactly.
And that is the question, Victor, about if anybody knows any institution that makes a policy about use of ChatGPT already.
Yeah, we've been having conversations about that. We even have a group in Extension Communications that gets together. We've gotten together twice, but we're still meeting like monthly to talk about the issues. So how do we deal with this? The university itself has another group that is looking into that. They haven't quite made policy and guidance. Some of this stuff is just progressing so fast. It's really hard to pin things down. There's a lot of folks saying, hey, this is really easy to plagiarize things, right? And then there's another group that's saying, well, if your classes and your homework is easily plagiarizable, then you might be looking at changing what that homework is or what those projects are, so that you can't easily plagiarize it, right? So we have to think differently. At the same time, we can't ban everything because these are the technologies that our students need to learn how to use if they're going to go into the workforce in the near future. I mean, this is what we're using now. But there's definitely ethics challenges. There's privacy issues that we need to talk about. Copyright, my word. You have to read all the different terms and conditions of all these different platforms to see who owns the rights. Some of it's open. Some of them tell you you can't copyright it because it's based on image computer generated from millions of images out there. So you don't own the copyright. But do you own the copyright to the text prompt? I don't know. These questions are still being asked. We're still trying to figure out things. But I don't know of policy at university. I know that in school district out in New York banned that for like high school and middle school stuff, but I don't know about the universities. So this is why we're talking about this, because we need to get familiar with it first, see what the capabilities are, and then see how we're going to handle it. A lot of folks are saying, well, does this put me out of job? I don't think so. I mean, you've seen the capabilities of this. The stuff is getting pretty good, but I think the creativity still needs to be there. Someone has to think of, what's the campaign? Who's my audience? Question was a curiosity at this stage. Yes, definitely. Okay. We're pretty much at the end here. So here is a resource if you want to learn more about artificial intelligence tools that are coming out daily. Futurepedia.io. It has filters for different types, 3D, audio editing, avatars. It bills itself as the largest AI tools directory, which is updated, and they have like a newsletter too. It's amazing how many AI tools are out there. It's just insane. So this helps me find out. Some of the stuff is paid, some of it's free, some of it's experimental. But this tries to organize it and rate it. Tons of things. Oh, let me give you another example. So Google Translate is actually artificial intelligence, and we have used the plugin for Google Translate on our website to translate English into Spanish. So if we want to, let's say, let's pick a composting thing. Okay, here it is in English. If we click on Español, Google Translate will automatically translate all of the text on here. And this is not us translating, this is Google Translate. Now, we do check certain ones, and we have the ability to go in and fix stuff that Google didn't get right, but it is, well, I'd like to say 95%, if not more, accurate these days. It's just because it keeps on learning. The more people use Translate, the better it gets. Now, this is just the Spanish, because we're able to verify, how close that is. We're thinking about Vietnamese and Russian, but we don't have people on board who actually would be able to verify that. But this is doing it on the fly, and it's translating everything: titles, even the copyright for the images, the paragraphs, the links, you name it. It's incredible. And this saves us so much time and allows us to reach our Latino Hispanic communities. We wouldn't be able to do this without AI. Challenges, obviously, accessibility, training, costs can be a big one, and bias. So some of these systems, they're created by a lot of folks in technology, white males for the most part. So there's been challenges with facial recognition, for example, where they didn't train the models to recognize people with darker skin, right? So there was a bias there. It's not that they were trying to do that, but they didn't have enough photographs, or they didn't think of that when they were doing the programming of the algorithms. Or, a sampling of men versus women, or any number of biases. That's part of the systems. Fortunately, folks are starting to pay a lot more attention to that. Costs are coming down. Training, there's a lot of stuff available online, and universities are starting to also train students on 3D construction, gaming engines, and whatnot. Accessibility can be a challenge. One of the things I ask people is like, okay, how do you do captioning in a 360-degree environment where everything's happening in real time? It's not the same as captioning a video, which people can watch passively. So at the same time, it allows people with some disabilities to go places that they do not have access to. So let's say someone in a wheelchair might not have a chance, it'd be very, very difficult for them to climb a mountain. But with virtual environments, we could have them have that experience of going and climbing that mountain in a virtual environment, and something that they wouldn't able to do physically. So kind of goes both ways. That's it. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to contact me. If you want, I'll put my email in the chat there. And we have an LC meeting, instructional design and IT LC meeting come up in May. Peter, do you have the date for that?
I believe it's a May 10th at 1 p.m. Pacific.
Yes, so please join us for that. Peter and I, unfortunately, will not be at the conference this year, so we're doing a virtual get-together, and we'd really like your input to talk about next year's and plan for different events, a webinar such as this, and next year's conference, which is hopefully I'll be at that one. Here's my email address. And we look forward to connecting with you all sometime in the future. Thanks a lot.